Now, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development says preliminary investigations into the theft of 17 million rand from the Guardians Fund shows that some employees were behind the theft. The Guardians Fund system was breached internally by certain individuals. Now, these officials have since been placed on precautionary suspension pending finalisation of the investigations. Last week, we ran the story that the livelihoods of the Guardians Fund beneficiaries was under threat after cyber attackers targeted the fund and stole millions of rand. The Guardians Fund was created to manage money on behalf of persons who are legally incapable or do not have the capacity to manage their own affairs. The department says the preliminary investigations have revealed that no hacking had taken place. So for more on this matter, we're joined in studio by the Senior Manager for Participatory Democracy at the Department of Justice and Correctional Development, Bheki Mbonani. Bheki, good to have you in studio. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to your listeners.
Good.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for heeding our invitation, because I know that we have been wanting to speak to you since we spoke to the journalist covering the story from ground up who broke the story after being approached by two young girls who are saying that their funds have been frozen and they cannot access it. So let's now get into the investigations. Where are you on this? We know that 4 employees have been suspended pending investigations. Talk to us more now.
Yeah, so once we discovered that these funds were actually stolen, we set up the investigation, and the preliminary investigation obviously identified that these employees have actually been fingered to have done something that is not right there. So that was the first thing that actually happened. But we also reported the case to the law enforcement agencies, and they've been working very hard to investigate exactly how all of this happened, who are involved, and making sure that they hold to account all of those people who have actually done that. As I learned this morning that the arrest may have actually happened, the department was informed that the investigation was at the advanced stage and that arrests are imminent. So that's good news that if the law enforcement agencies have moved to arrest.
It certainly is good news if, in fact, it is the people that are responsible for it. And where we're seeing this story developing even further, where Nahawa was saying that you're using these employees as scapegoats and that there is more to the story, that they are not actually the people behind this. The story is much bigger than that. There even was a go-slow taking place at the Pietermaritzburg offices where the administrators are basically saying that they're accusing you of using them as scapegoats. So what do you take, or what do you read into the accusations that they're labeling at you?
Well, that's a very disturbing insinuation that will come out from the how, to be honest. The investigation in front of us tells the department a different story. The preliminary investigation shows that profiles of these officials were used. It also points to a number of other technical systems that were actually violated by people who have the know-how into that system. So I think it's important that the public know that we would not, as a Department of Justice, go out and really target our own employees. I think that doesn't really make sense at all. We have an investigation that we have conducted, and that investigation does prove to us at this moment. This investigation is preliminary. We are carrying on and going forward. Obviously, more details may come further from internal, and in the law enforcement agencies, obviously, they also are doing their own bits. But sure, I think it's important that we notice that this is based on the data that we have in front of us.
Yeah, so the accusations again, and this is what the employees are saying, is that the individuals that have been held accountable are very junior employees that are perhaps taking the fall because the managers are still working, they're still there, and they're saying that, why are the managers who approved these transfers not also being suspended or investigated, or perhaps even at this point being held accountable for 18 million rand? Is that the amount of money we're looking at?
About 17.8.
So talk to us about that.
So actually, what happens all the time is that you look at the investigation in front of you. That's what you do. The investigators are fairly independent people. They go in and look at what actually and track at what actually happens. So it's not really about the rank at all. It's about what the investigation is giving you, and you follow it through. So I don't think, I mean, obviously we must also emphasize the fact that this investigation is still carrying on. We have not finalized it. We may actually unpull a number of things that will point to that.
You know the systems better than all of us know the systems. Are you able to just, if I work at the department as a junior employee, can I just sit in front of a computer and transfer 18 million out of that account into my account? Is that possible? Don't I need authorization? Aren't there checks and balances in place that something like that cannot happen? How does something like this actually happen?
It will be a very difficult hypothetical situation for me to sit here and tell you exactly how a criminal would do such a thing. But they may have quite a huge amount of abilities than we can from where we sit. But it is quite a situation that we're looking at this moment. How actually would they have actually done it? You must also take in point that some of our employees are given quite a huge amount of arrays to be able to utilize the system in any way, one way or the other. There are, of course, fortified barriers and barricades to make sure that they don't go in and abuse the system.
Yeah.
But things can happen in that situation.
Well, I suppose they do, but there is an administrator, a massive administrator, that actually runs this fund, and they're a GFS. This is the system which is linked to the bank system. So, I mean, again, this is a swift and secure payment that happens to beneficiaries. I know you don't know the answers, but I mean, surely this is almost impossible that something like this can happen by junior employees. And it's not the first time that funds have been stolen using the same service provider. So,
Leanne, the issue of junior or not junior is obviously an issue that we would say that it's only coming out of the details that we have. We won't go out as a Department of Justice and protect senior members who have done something wrong. That's just not what we will do. I must say that it's not the rank that actually determines what is happening, but it's also the fact that we are still investigating, and those investigations are moving on. We will definitely be able to work out exactly in the final part of that investigation, the levels and all that stuff. And it could be that actually the system itself is vulnerable by all other means. We are still investigating that part of the system as well. We're working with ABSA, who is collaborating very closely with the Department of Justice to look at different areas within the system that could have actually been broken into.
Yeah.
But I would say that we shouldn't really stick on the levels as such. I mean, that's a conversation that would actually not be helpful, because the investigation brings you a number of details in front of you. You work with that details.
Yeah.
You don't do anything about the investigation. You just, we are a law enforcement agency in a way ourselves. So we follow through to what is happening.
But this, as I mentioned, this is not the first time. I mean, in 2021, 10 million rand disappeared in pretty much so the same manner. You're ruling out hacking. So you're saying that this was not a hacking. But again, how can that happen? Because nothing ever came of that. So 10 million rand gone, and this investigation didn't yield anything, even though apparently there was a paper trail, but there's nothing that actually happened with those previous funds. So how is it that it happened in 2021, and here we are again with the same thing, but 18 million rand this time?
Yeah, so at this moment, we're looking at this case very closely. We're investigating
Which case,
everything.
the first case or the second case?
This case.
This one now?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we deal with this case as a unique case in itself. Because, as I said, it involves our employees. And of course, in this time around, we also suspended quite a huge amount of payments to go ahead. And I should also mention here, Leanne, very quickly, and very important for the public to know that these payments are now reopened, and they can go back and get all of their money.
Is it 100% working now?
It's now 100% open.
Working.
Of course, we may have difficulties with the offices that had this problem in Pietermaritzburg, that we've heard yesterday that there has been disruption to the service delivery. But it is now very much open.
Yeah.
What happened before and what is happening now, what we're trying to do is to get to the heart of what is happening now and resolve it as soon as possible. As I say, it's been done internally and it's also been done externally. And the fact that there is arrest now tells us that actually this train is moving very well.
Well, we hope so, and we hope you've got the right people, and these are not just scapegoats, because the union have said they've been warning the department about the lax insecurity, that the security systems are not good enough with regard to this. And they're questioning the actual administrator and the online system called GFS. And they're saying that this is the heart of it. They've been warning about the security systems, and here we are again. Let's talk about GFS. Are they still in control? That there's no looking into them and perhaps saying, well, maybe there's something wrong with the service that they're offering us?
The investigation is leaving no stone unturned. We're going everywhere. We're doing everything. We're making sure that it's over. We have a confidence that the system is really, really strong. The system has been attacked by people who are working in the department. So it's not like the system is not good enough. Currently, that's what we've actually learned. And of course, as we're carrying on with the investigation, we can bring out the investigation will bring us a couple of other things as well that are already there. I can mention the fact that the Department of Justice is obtaining professional services to do a full due diligence into the entire system. And that would probably also give us a sense of exactly where the loopholes are.
Yeah. All right. So just to wrap this up, because we are running into time, but the department has obtained a preservation order for some of the stolen funds.
Yes.
So talk to us about that. How much of the money has there been a preservation order on?
So it's about 8.8 million that we have. We believe that also the asset forfeiture unit will be looking at the leads and will be able to claw back some of the money.
Yeah.
We think we will be able to get some of the money back, maybe not every money. But that doesn't stop the people, the beneficiaries, from accessing their funds, that this fund is actually a preserved funds, that it is there and they will be able to still access the funds at all the time.
But you're confident that the security systems are absolutely fine, because we spoke about this incident before, but there have been 3 incidents, according to a Sowetan report, that cyber criminals have managed to breach the security in the systems. So are you still confident that the security is fine?
The system is very well. The problem we have is that the criminals may always try to tap into it, but the system is quite well.
Right.
We're confident about that.
Let's leave it there. Bheki Mbonani, who is a Senior Manager for Participatory Democracy at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, giving us an update after the theft of almost 18 million rand from the Guardians Fund.